Hey Gold Medal family, Master John Vasquez here, and today's video is going to be on learning how to launch your kick off of the floor, off of the mat, off of the ground, whatever you're kicking on. If this is your first time visiting our channel, we want to thank you. We'd love to see you back, so if you consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification, that'll let you know when we kick another video out to the tube. And if you found this video informative or even just entertaining, if you could please give it a thumbs up, we'd really appreciate that. Okay, so learning to launch your kick off the floor is a very unique skill. There are two different ways to throw a kick. One, and I'm just going to use the front kick here for a basic example. One would be picking your knee up, knee pitch. Okay, that's what turns a kick into a kick there. And most of us know this already. However, that is the very easy, basic first step. But just because I pick my knee up, and let's say I can pick my knee up kind of fast, doesn't mean I'm actually going to launch my kick out to the target. So that's the goal, is going from point A to point B as fast as possible. So the same thing for my foot to the target. I want to get my foot from the floor over to the target as fast as possible. Now there are a lot of moving parts and skills that go into the body that are going to allow me to be able to make that connection and that transition from the ground to the target. One of them, however, is foot control, ankle flexation. Okay, so let's get into the specifics of what you're going to do to launch that kick off. So first off, starting in your guarding stance, make sure your stance is always well set to where you can just kick right off of that position. You don't have to make any pre-movements before that, meaning if I'm standing like this and I'm going to go to kick, I have to take that step there to get the momentum to pick my leg up, which is a big bad habit a lot of people need to learn to cut out. Here's the first step. One, make sure your guarding stance foot position is proper. So you want to make sure that the toes are going to be slightly turned towards the target. So now this back leg, there's nothing in front of it in between me and the target here. At least my front leg isn't. I can move it straight by it, right in front of it, without having to go around my front leg at all. Number two, you want the heel slightly raised up off of the mat here. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in detail here. So in your guarding stance here off to the side, I'll move back here so you can see me in the camera better. I want that heel up off of the mat just a little bit so you can kind of see my stance. When I let my pants drop down, here's a good thing, it kind of hides that a little bit so a person can't necessarily tell that I'm on my toes here. If I have my heel up off of the mat already a little bit, then those microseconds of time I'm stripping away of having to do that. Now, there comes a point where you need to practice this a lot, because one thing you don't want is you don't want it too high. You want it just off of the ground enough so I don't have to lift it off. Okay, so if you look at my foot position here, toes are turned slightly towards the target. Now it might look like I'm really facing straight forward towards the target. I'm doing that a little bit on purpose for the camera, just so you can get a better angle and get a better idea of the technique that we're going to talk about here today. But if I were to be like this here, it's not the most horrible thing in the world. But again, depending on how you're standing and your position of your legs and your feet limits what kicks you're going to be able to use. Again, for defense, sparring, kicking, whatever it is, I want a lot of illusion in it. I don't want somebody to be able to, again, telegraph. I don't want somebody to be able to know or tell what I'm planning on doing or trying to do. So that's why, you know, pants go down to the floor. Right here you can kind of see maybe a little bit that I am on my heels. I mean that I am on my balls, the balls of my feet. I got my heels up off the mat. I want my back heel. So I'm going to turn it out like this here a little bit just to give you a better visual of it. Here's the move. With my knees slightly bent, I always want my knees slightly bent so I can spring. See that little movement right here? When I go to kick here, I can spring up. Here's the movement. Really add some explosive speed to that kick. Launch. Flex the ankle. Push off of the ground. all the way through. Now you can see right here, I'm even gonna go right up to the tip of my toe. Boom, and that movement there is gonna help take off and launch my kick. Practicing that here. Just that little flick like that there. Hup. Now I'm just kind of moving it easy and slow just so you can see in the camera better. So I'm trying not to lose any angles or visual for you. But all I want to do is that movement right there. Learning to push that forward. Now what happens here is when I do this and I use that ankle, that's not my leg moving, that's my ankle pushing. I automatically get a forward moving momentum and velocity to take off my kick towards the target versus picking the foot and the knee up. Because if I'm picking my knee up here like this, now you can kind of look perfectly on the camera and notice my momentum of the kick is now going up instead of forward like I want it to. Forward, up, forward, up. Now they're both important because I'm going to need to be able to do both of those. Here would be a forward and up at the same time. And you notice how my knee will shoot right off of the screen here. Here's my knee. Up. Because I'm putting the knee pitch motion in place with the launch of the foot, the flexation of my ankle. Boom. Hup. And you can see how it shoots up off of the ground a lot more efficiently. Okay, so a quick recap here. Remember, learning to launch your kick off of the mat, off of the floor, the ground, whatever surface you are on. Starts with the stance first. You want to make sure you're kind of angled towards the target. Slight bend in the knees, but you can tell I'm nice and loose, body's up straight, and I flick that foot. Really pick my heel up off the ground, but I flick my foot, pointing the foot down. Flick, flick. And you notice I don't have to pick the knee up very high either because that's not what I'm working on right now. I'm working on just getting the foot off of the floor, but with velocity, pushing forward. So stepping over something is picking my knee up. Over, over, and now launch. Hup. Flick, flick, hup. That's what you want to work on. So practice that, and then we'll see you in the next video, guys.